Welcome to the final day of meteorological summer. It is the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It will also be a day where I score the summer forecast, the actual publication of the summer recap, the scoring, and indeed the September forecast will be released later on this evening. So stay tuned for that on markvoganweather.com. And it looks as if we are going to see a change taking place as we step out of summer, meteorologically speaking, anyway, and into the first month of meteorological autumn. Low pressure gives way to high pressure through the remainder of this week and into the weekend. As you can see here, off the latest run of the GFS ensemble, an area of low pressure will move off to the east and to the south, and we see heights building over the UK and Ireland. What does that correspond to? It means drier conditions, sunnier conditions, and indeed warmer conditions across the majority of the British Isles here. And we can see here for the latest run of the CFS V2 weeklies, the upcoming week looks like this here. So week 1 of September. This is slightly outdated because the current CFS V2 is actually updating. So I'm going to show you the slightly outdated version, but in the actual September forecast that will be released later on this evening, I will have the latest information and data. But you can see here, upcoming 7-day period. So this is the 30th of August through the 6th of September. High pressure coming in over the top between Northern Britain and Iceland. Area of low pressure, that trough that's currently over the UK, that gets forced south, and it's all thanks to the presence of Franklin moving north over the North Atlantic, builds the high pressure to its east and northeast, hence why it's going to build into the UK from a kind of west and northwesterly direction during the course of the weekend. Week 2 looks like this here, where we build the high pressure across the north. Bit of a blocky look, isn't it? We need to keep our eyes on this slightly lower height field across Spain, Portugal, Biscay, France, that may see areas of low pressure that's been forced south with that high building over the top. It may start to see low pressure moving up, so kind of thunderstorms and warmer, more humid air could be in place as we push into week 2 of September here. Week 3 looks like this. Notice the core of the high, according to this CFS V2 run, has the core of the high to the west and northwest of the British Isles, and then the following week is the 20th through the 27th of September. Notice still high pressure is the dominant player. Looking at the precipitation forecast of the CFS V2 looks like this here. So we've got dry north, wet south, as that trough gets forced south underneath the blocking area of high pressure. Week 2, we've got largely drier than average conditions. Week 3, we've got the same, very dry compared to average across the UK and Ireland. What a stark contrast this is to week after week after week of low pressure dominance across the UK and Ireland. Strong blocking area of high pressure over Greenland, the most negative NAO it looks like since 2009. Then we've got the big area of high pressure over Iberia, where heatwave conditions was present several times over this summer. And then, of course, we were sandwiched in between the high over Greenland and the high over Iberia, hence why we've had day after day, week after week of low pressure dominance here. It hasn't been a washout summer, and I really do think that so-called marine heat wave back in June surrounding the UK and to the west of the UK and Ireland did help have the overall summer temperatures warmer than average. So, of course, we've seen the big dramatic flip between high pressure really from the second half of May right the way through much of June up until about the 20th day of June. Then we started to see the height field reverse, and then really it has been stuck in play throughout the rest of the summer season here. And that was part of the forecast on markvoganweather.com, and I think the summer forecast, you'll agree, has been pretty accurate. And then the period 20th through the 27th of September, again, drier than average. So where am I going with the summer September outlook? Drier and slightly warmer than average, I think, is looking likely. Now, the problem that we have is we've got those warm sea surface temperatures surrounding the UK and over the North Atlantic in general. We also have the tropical aspect to consider. Of course, we're approaching the busiest time of the year in the tropics. So, of course, interaction between tropical activity moving up into the middle altitude region, that then interacts with the jet stream and can enforce a deeper trough over the UK. It can also boost heights over the UK, and of course, the latter is going to be the case as we step into the early portion of the month. But as we progress through the month, what changes take place? Where does the Manjulian oscillation go? The pulse of energy within the Manjulian oscillation is moving into the Western and Central Pacific Ocean. That then means that we've got a kind of phase, 8 into 1, 2, and then moves, I believe, into phase 5, if I'm right in saying, and that tends to be a favourable phase for drier, more settled, high pressure dominance across northwestern Europe, especially at this time of the year. Remember, historically and climatologically, September tends to be a decent month for the UK and Ireland overall, and May can tend to be that way as well. Finally, looking at the temperatures, the anomaly here for week 1 of September here, and you can see here warmer than average. And then really as I skip through the sequence here, I don't necessarily think it's going to be just warm across the board like this model suggests, but I think overall we're going to see warmer than average temperatures in September. If you're looking for a decent winter in terms of snow and cold, by the way, we don't want to see a repeat of last year where it was a record-breaking warm September across UK and Ireland. That tends to be a negative when it comes to the drivers and the teleconnections and whatnot. For I believe it was last September. It may have been actually the September before. I could be wrong. Actually, I feel as if as I get older, days, weeks, months, and years tend to kind of roll into one another, and I get confused by which year's which, what month's which. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comment section below what you think with regards to what I'm going to show you in terms of the overall summer score. So I go into quite a bit of detail. This is not complete, by the way. I'm going to have figures with regards to Europe and the record-breaking temperatures we've seen here during June, July, and indeed August. Was quite a significant period overall, especially July and August with regards to heat waves across southern Europe and the Mediterranean basin here. But a stark contrast, as I say, the forecast from the 22nd of May, there's the link to it, what was written, what was said, and then versus the reality of what we've just seen. So, of course, a stark contrast to the 40.3 Celsius recorded last July. The highest temperature this summer overall was only 32.2 Celsius. Incidentally, my prediction for the UK maximum this summer was 33.0 Celsius. So actually only 0.8 Celsius off the predicted figure, which I thought was pretty good. So according to the Met Office, it was the hottest June on record for the UK, fourth sunniest on record, drier than average for most. And there's the temperature anomaly chart. There's the rainfall anomaly chart. Notice here slightly wet than average, actually, just to the north of my neck of the woods. And up into Sutherland there, actually, we've got quite a wet June, actually, compared to average. And that was a bit of a stark contrast because that area of high pressure had been quite dominant through April and May and even into much of June across the northern half of the British Isles, hence why it was drier further north, wetter further south here. And then we'll go into the nuts and bolts, the details with regards to what was said versus the reality of the pattern. I don't really have an awful lot of time to kind of show you the finer details. July was slightly below average by 0.3 Celsius. Daytime maximum temperatures were the most compared to average below, but also nighttime temperatures were warmer than average for some places. So that 0.3 Celsius in the means was skewed cooler days, warmer nights overall, and that is a consequence, I believe, to the warmer than average sea surface temperatures around the British Isles and indeed Ireland. That has to get taken into consideration for both September and autumn. What type of pattern do we see? And I'm still a little bit open to question with regards to that, by the way. So I'll have more details on that, in the publication that I put out late this evening with regards to September. I don't, like I say, do an autumn forecast. I just stick generally to summer and indeed winter. But it was the seventh wettest July on record for the UK, wettest on record for parts of Lancashire and indeed Northern Ireland. Then we've got some interesting facts and figures, courtesy of the Met Office here. Like I say, the August information has yet to get published by the Met Office, so we don't have the finer details yet. But you can see here this upper anomaly pattern here. So strong positive over Iberia to the south, strong positive up over Greenland, and indeed we were trapped in between with areas of low pressure, a frequent visitor, unusually deep areas of low pressure driven by an unusually strong jet stream. UK maximum for August was 28.4 Celsius, the Republic of Ireland 26.6 Celsius, and then we go into a little bit more technical detail with regards to this. So where does it stand with regards to the overall scoring? So what I had in terms of UK maximum for July was 28 to 30 Celsius. So the actual UK maximum was 32.2, recorded twice in June. So slightly below that anticipated figure, certainly. For the month of July, I had 31 to 33 Celsius, and the actual temperature for July was 30.2. So I was a little bit high in terms of the figures for the month of July. And finally, for August, I was slightly high as well at 29 to 31 Celsius. I did have an inkling that we would have a sub 30 Celsius August for the British Isles, and that indeed was the case. So, where do I score myself in terms of June based on some of the figures and the more important upper air pattern prediction? June scores an 8 out of 5, 8.5, sorry, out of 10. July 8.5 out of 10, August 7.5 out of 10. Why do I have a slightly lower score for August? I believe anyway that I did have a cooler and more unsettled and wet August. Yes, that was the case to an extent. We had the continuation of low pressure dominance throughout pretty much all of August, but the difference was the cool first half was replaced by a warmer second half, and it looks as if the month will wind up slightly above average for temperature, slightly above average for rainfall. Still happy with the fact that the overall ideas, remember, it was put out all the way back to the 22nd of May. So forecasting months in advance, yes, it's a bit of a luck. It is a bit of a guessing game. But based on the factors that I had in place, the developing El Nino, which I learned the hard way back in 2012, forecasting a barbecue summer. It was one of the wettest summers on record for the UK. I did take that into consideration. Also, aspects such as the Mann-Julian oscillation, the solar cycle approaching a maximum within the next year or so, and also the very warm sea surface temperatures around the world, played a role in that. So overall, I scored myself 8 out of 10 with regards to the summer forecast for the 90-day period. I think that was pretty good, in my opinion. Let me know, like I say, in the comment section below what you think. Did you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? Who knows? I would be interested to hear your opinion. So that's the overall summer recap. Do check out the article once it's published. There's a lot of information in there, and we will, of course, look at September and the autumn as well, generally speaking. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Lots of things to come up in the weeks to come with regards to the winter forecast and whatnot. So stay tuned for that. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I shall see you again tomorrow with more details with regards to the upcoming weekend and into next week's weather forecast. Stay tuned. Bye for now.